Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Show Up with Cameron Gran. This is the finale of season 3. Yeah, everyone. If you're with me and you're excited about that, thank you so much. I appreciate it. The next time you see this, I will probably be posting on the Show Up with Cameron Gran YouTube channel. The reason why I'm doing that is I decided that I do want to have a specific place for mental health or just my own journey with health in general and sharing with you guys, because I want to make Grand Central specifically about me just diving deeper into my own acting and love of the craft of filmmaking and any kind of creativity, and just having the separation I think will help me with my brain, because something that I also want to celebrate is I recently lost 14 pounds. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate any accolades you want to give me. I really do. But doing that, I learned like a big thing for myself is that when you do these things, you need to actually show yourself that you're going through time and like there are things that you're achieving. For instance, something that helped me just mentally process my time better and feel more mentally strong. That I'm doing this episode in an episode as an example of what I've learned in the last 3 seasons, so that you have hopefully something to look forward to with season 4. But something that I definitely learned is that learning how you put yourself in the scenarios you're at can help you better combat like the thoughts to come up. For instance, when you're by yourself a lot, it feels like that's a window into repeating the previous behavior of being depressed because you're just staying in the same old habits and not changing. But something that helped me is I have recently been like, okay, we're going to work. Well, we're no longer going to allow work clothes at home, because then it feels like I'm always working because I never have a change in visual stimulant that tells me, oh, it's time to relax, or now, oh, we're at home, so now it's time to work on schoolwork. Or it's like I'm doing those things, don't get me wrong, but like my brain isn't registering that, so I feel like I'm having more stress over the course of the day because I'm staying in clothes that signify like my normal job, and so you don't feel that difference. But changing has helped me just have a little bit more of like, oh, we're in relaxation. This is my time. I can do what I want to achieve in these moments. And this little thing is something that has helped me do that. Something else that like I've been doing a lot that has helped me lose those 14 pounds is I didn't do it with the intention of fasting. I just was like, hey, well, we always seem to eat at work, and then you don't realize how much you're eating over the course of 8 hours. And then I'm like, you know what, let's eat a breakfast, make it a strong breakfast, solid, and then let's not eat until we get home. And then like that little thing helped me so much, because I'm like, oh, I don't need to eat as much as I thought I did, because I like when you're on break, I guess I was using something that I learned from watching a lot of Hoarders, or something from watching other like My 600 Pound Life, those shows. I like them because to me they're windows into somebody else's life and their experience, but they're also windows into like hearing other ways that like therapists try to teach people with bad habits how to make their lives better. And that's something I like about those shows, and something that show taught me specifically is that like what are these things that we do in our day-to-day that feel like they're nothing but might actually be hurting us in the long run. And not keeping track of when I'm putting food in my mouth maybe could have been an issue, because it's just habitual like eating, where I was like, no, like we'll make sure we have a strong breakfast because like eating is important, but then we'll make the choice to have very little food at work, so that way we can have a strong dinner, and we still get the calories needed in the day, but it's not as much free will when it comes to how much we're consuming. And that really has helped me, because then it's like, oh, a little bit of limitation, but it does feel like fasting in a way, because on days that I miss, because this happened once and I felt bad, but I'm like, no, we're gonna stick with it, even though we should have. I was like, no, if we miss eating, we're gonna like eat breakfast, but like we really got to make sure that we stick to like eating before work and then not touching, because I did feel weird and it felt like, oh, maybe it doesn't matter again. Like if you fall out of habits that you're using to better your lives, it feels very easy to fall back into old habits that are worse for you. And that was something that I learned just by being more observant in my day-to-day life. Like, I did not go with the intention of fasting, but then after 5 days, I was like, oh, I'm fasting, and I didn't mean to, but it actually feels really good to be like, nope, no eating until we get home. Like, breakfast, yep, and then a dinner, and that's it for the rest of the day. And then like having like a calorie benchmark, but something that I also learned through counting calories ish is that, oh, what I actually for my brain need is something to chew on long enough. And the chew is what makes me feel full, not the food I'm putting in my body. So something that's low calorie that you can eat a lot of are vegetables. And I knew that, and I bought a freezer full of vegetables, but I wasn't eating them. And frozen vegetables have less preservatives in them. They still have some than canned, which I do have canned vegetables also. But I've been trying to eat frozen because they're less calorie dense. And I was like, oh, if I just have one bag of noodles and then have a whole bunch of vegetables and then more protein with that, it fills me up a lot and it feels a lot more productive. And same thing with breakfast. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to only eat breakfast, like, what are things that I enjoy eating for breakfast that make me feel like, oh, I'm good for the rest of the day? And something for somebody who's starting out that I've been doing, but I think I'll still do it this week, and maybe I'll do it for a month, and then I'll switch to try to do it like less. Is I've been chewing gum, because gum is only 5 calories. The ones I've been chewing, as a way of getting myself between places, and I'm trying to double my intake of water and eventually get rid of soda. But getting rid of soda kind of puts me on a spiral if I just cut it out entirely. So I'm trying to weigh that down over time. So that way I do what my aunt once told me when I was in 6th grade, where she's like, yeah, just have 1 can a day. And that's a weight goal limitation. But I got so far beyond that, that's very hard for me. So I'm trying to wean myself off slowly so I can maintain my calorie goals without freaking myself, because like food binging is a thing, and I've fallen into those patterns before. Because I have not been taking note of how I feel in my brain when I'm doing these certain choices. And I feel really good about what the choices I made last week, and I feel like very good about repeating them. And I also feel really good about change and what I'm going for in my own life and like what I want. Because I have a goal in mind of where I want to go, but I do think that I'm capable of making this change. And I don't mind people who use this, but something, because it's now getting more and more popular, that I am afraid to try, and I feel like if somebody was my real doctor, they would also be afraid to try, is I've heard, like, because I'm overweight, a lot of people are trying to throw me into Ozempic. But I've heard that Ozempic messes with a lot of people's mental, like, state, and I am just barely feel like I have a full grasp on that. And so, like, I'm not opposed to trying it, but I'm like, let me try this pattern, and if I can keep this up and make it long-term change, then I'm not going to try Ozempic, because I'd rather stay good in my mind. Because I want, with Show Up with Camron Gran, the whole point was to get good mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I feel like I'm good mentally. I'm going to move into physically, and then I'm diving in deeper into, like, spirituality as well. But that's a path later down the road, because really spirituality is whatever works best for you, and I really do love that fact, and I learned it a lot with, like, this channel, is like I have values that I used to allow to be bent for other people to feel good in themselves, and like learning what I need for myself has allowed me to be like, oh, it's not just about my opinion. It's like, oh, well, if they don't want to follow this, then I don't need to stay in this, like, position. I can find other means. And also, like, I've talked about before about not being good with finances, but time is what I need when it comes to making big spends. And if I can't give myself that time, I need to walk away. Like, if I feel like I'm in a time crunch, I'm going to make the wrong decision. And so I need to develop the capacity to walk away under time crunches, despite other people trying to pressure you to do something. Because I've screwed myself over in the past for not listening to myself with that fact. And I don't want to do that in the future. And so those are things I've learned through talking about this every week with you guys. I know I missed a couple weeks here and there, but like this has been my benchmark, and the reason why I want to push this back onto its own channel is because I've needed this to get good mentally, but I need Grand Central to be a place where I get good with my full being, and so you'll still see this. Like I'll still like have it attached to my main channel. I just want to make sure that like I have the clarity of mind, because without that separation, I feel like this is like going to be enough, and I don't think that that's right. And something else that I'm trying to do is like I've gotten better with how I spend my time, but I know that I want to figure out how to organize it even better, because time is important with how you spend it. Because like until like a lot of what I want to do is creative, and a lot of creative stuff with jobs is you put in a lot of time and then eventually you get paid back down the road. But without that time being put in, you're never going to get that payback because there is no time giving you that. For instance, the job field I want to get into, like the jump off point is visual effects and CGI, but that's not. That's what I want to be. What I'm doing day to day, but I want to be an actor. Like that's my main goal. But like to support myself, I'd rather do visual effects and CGI, just because it is still in that field, and then I'll still feel more creative. But then I also won't be like as at risk of like harm, because I do a lot of driving, and a lot of things for other people. And like when you work for a studio, you are working for them, but you're making quotas and stuff. And then just like something that I realized, because I only have a year and a half left of school roughly, is like, oh well, I only have these programs for that year and a half, maybe 2 years, because usually they give you a second year when you renew for 2026. But either way, a lot of the programs that I use are expensive, and I don't, until I have that kind of income coming in, it's hard for me to justify it, because they're yearly expenses, and you like studios usually pay for you to use them because you're working for them. And I'm like, okay, well, if I want to get to the point where I can still use this, I need to make sure that I develop a portfolio, so I have the tools ready for people to showcase, so that way my portfolio is how I get those jobs, and I can get where I want to be in the next, when I graduate. Like in a year and a half, I want to have a job in visual effects. That's what I want. So I want to do that work, but to do that, I have to give myself the time to do that. Sorry, that's a lot of doing that and time I've been talking about, but it's just no other way of putting it, because have now reached the point in my program of college where we're just doing visual effects, and today's lesson took 5 hours, and 5 hours is pretty much all the time I have after work. So it's kind of like, oh, well, you can use schoolwork to be in your portfolio, but if I want to have extra time developed to my portfolio, I really need to be like, oh, okay, I really need to spend 5 hours. Once I finish schoolwork, I need to spend those extra 5 hours every day doing my portfolio, and it's been hard. Like, let's get my schoolwork done, and then the rest of the week we just have those 5 hours set apart to develop my portfolio, which isn't bad, because there are projects I have in the works with Grand Central Studios. That's the film company of Grand Central. That I think I already have the intention of using visual effects, just because we shot somewhere that looked really good, except for the fact that it was like run down. But like using visual effects, I could put things into those windows and into those places so that it looks legit, and then that could be part of my portfolio. But I'm doing it on my own work, which I act in, so it's kind of like a trifecta of being beneficial on all three fronts. And it's kind of like work with your time smarter. Same thing with like Celine, which is like the book series I'm writing. I've dived more into that, but like I need to spend the time and also develop a schedule where I still have time to relax, because I'm hurt. I'm sure if you're like anybody else and you just heard me say time in the last 5 minutes a billion times, you're going to feel very stressed out. And that was starting to creep up, but I'm like, no, it's all about developing a routine and making sure that routine also grants me enough freedom for like relaxation, and also to enjoy other things that I enjoy when I relax. And that's what's beneficial and important. and that's kind of where I want with the next season of Show Up with Cameron Gran and with the rest of like my channel is like I have these plans in the works, but I want to film them and edit them along the lines of how I've seen successful creators do that. Now I can't do it fully because I have a job, but I want to build to the point of maybe being able to release more time because I have income coming in from other sources, so that I have less and less time at that job and more time into things that I want to do. But it's all about developing a game plan is kind of the way I'm going to phrase it, is because having a routine or a plan in place is way less stress for me and my brain than trying to keep the plan inside my own head. Because like then I get lost because there's so many plans happening in my brain that I don't know where to turn for like clarity. And clarity is, I think, it brings the most relaxation and peace to myself, because I've said this before. I'm gonna say this again. Something I learned from like this channel and also my time at DBT and like the inner hospital program is just that for me, I need to develop or like. So I had a point and then I got distracted, and see it's happening right now in front of you. Is like I got too many thoughts were happening in my brain, so the stress was triggered. But I learned that I need to develop routines and stick with those routines because they help me be at peace. And the peace is the point that I was trying to make. Is a lot of people focus on happiness or depression or anger and those emotions. And I think, and hopefully you'll try this, and if it works for you, I say also do this for you, is I think focusing and finding out where your neutrality is the biggest first step you could take. Is like, what makes me feel the most neutral? Like I could do here and be good for a very long time. I have no stress, I have no worries. I can stick to this place. And then once you know how to get to this point, then you can start reaching out to other people and figuring out how to take on either what they're doing, how to help them, and then being like, once you reach a threshold of like, oh, I'm helping too much, I need to go back to my neutrality, and like how I can maintain my sense of self to help other people or help your own like future goals. But like learn where you are at your center and how to center yourself. Centering is another word for peace, because when you know your center, it's when you can return to it easier. It makes it easier to focus and like quickly figure out your next steps. Something that I love with projects and film is something called a creative brain. I know I've talked about that before, but in case you haven't heard about me think about it before, is like what I love about the creative brain is like you're working so much with other people, and then you do have these time crunches you're on, so you have to rely on like the creative brain to have your back with these other people that are creating. So you have to rely on your focus, and when you're a director, your focus is maintaining the vision, and so you have a better mindset of being like, when you have people ask you these questions, you can put it into the filter and be like, we don't want that, we do want this. This is kind of closer to the vision. This is too far away, and you're like relaying it more clearly because you're focused on what you truly are looking for yourself, and that is something that I have and I'm willing to develop as I go forward. And I highly recommend is just like figuring out how you can get to your point of focus the best. Like, for instance, my book. I had a lot of plans going forward, and I knew that there was a rewrite that had to happen. But now we're getting to the point of the rewrite where we are in the pocket of when I got to it in my first draft. And so there doesn't need to be as much rewriting. There just needs to be more of how do we bridge these two formats together. But I had been rewriting so much that I was like, I hadn't even thought to be like, oh, let's read this chapter first and keep what works and get rid of what doesn't. And that's something that I'm like, this is going to be my approach now, because I think that like I read something in my first draft and I'm like, this is solid. The descriptions need work, sure, but you don't need a whole rewrite. You don't need to do this other thing. And something that I love, and I've learned I love this about myself in my own creative work, is that if something is not working, it usually means you're trying to force something in my work, and or you solve this problem you're trying to solve already, but you haven't given yourself the time to go back and reread it so you know that, oh, the reason why my rewrite isn't working is because you had it in the pocket the first time, but you didn't trust yourself. But if you simply reread it, you've been like, oh, this is really great and it is a good foundation. Let's start with the foundation and not rework the entire chapter anymore. Because that rewriting the entire chapter had to happen for the majority of my book. But now that we're in the tail end where I was in the pocket and I knew how everything was going to be placed, I don't have to do that as much. And I'm really excited to be there. And I'm really excited about my book, and I really can't wait to get it to a publisher and have it out for you guys to hopefully enjoy at your own leisure. But reading helps me write, and so something else I'm trying to put in my schedule every day is just like 30 minutes to like dive into a book and like get into it. And I love reading, and it is something that I felt very detached from. Same thing as like I love music, but I've been very detached from it for a while. So I'm trying to figure out how to have it in my life enough so I feel I feel like I'm whole in myself. So I have the freedom to be like as free when I'm working or as relaxed when I'm not as I want to. And that's helped me a lot. And something like that I am really excited about is like I have these plans for my channel, but I also have like a solid plan in place. Like once I have my setup up, I think you guys will enjoy the pivot that my creation online is going to take. And also it's kind of like, what is my vision, or what's my tone? There's a word for it. I'm forgetting it right now, but it's like, I don't like the word branding because branding to me feels very manipulative, like you're trying to get something from people. I know branding is a thing. Like when people think of Cameron Gran or Grand Central or Show Up with Cameron Gran, is their first initial reaction? And the reason why I'm pivoting and like I want to change how my channels are set up is because I do want it's very clear what you're getting when you look at Grand Central and what you're getting when you look at Show Up with Cameron Gran. Like, because to me, Show Up with Cameron Gran is all about mental health, like health in general, and like my journey, and hopefully other people finding inspiration from it. And then Grand Central is still part of my journey, but it's more about my creative side and like giving people like a chance to like relax and let go and not have to think so much or like reflect. It's more about entertainment, and that's what I've always wanted it to be, but I got very lost in the sauce of what other people are telling me to do, rather than being like, I know that everyone's like, well, stick to one until all of them are off, but I'm like, I think if I have a clear sense of what I want for people to get when they get to my channel, I think that it will take off, and I've seen that before. But Susan and her channel, Interfamily Therapy, stopped me, and I have been working to like tell Susan to go away, and it's been a lot more successful, and I'm hoping to just branch out and allow that to be better as we go forward. Something that I really love and I really appreciate is people who have taken the time to like leave comments and like point out things that have helped them in their own journeys. And like something that I've learned for myself that is very important is just how like the golden rule, like that used to be a hardcore rule for me, and it is very much so. But it's like, if people are going to treat you a certain way, you got to treat them how they want to be treated. And I always took it as treat others how you want to be treated. And I'm more along the lines of treat others how you want to be treated. But I do think I've been better at being like, hey, as long as respect is in play, yes. Because respect to me goes hand in hand with safety, and safety is tied to like a fight or flight response, survival instincts. And so like if you respect me, I will show you all the respect in the world. But if you're not showing me respect and you're just going out of your way to harm me when I've done nothing to you, I'm not going to be peaceful. I'm not going to just let it go, because that doesn't make a change in the world, and it doesn't make a change in the other person, and doesn't point out that, hey, other people might let you get away with that, but I'm not going to, because that's not who I am. And if especially if these people are in your life for long periods of time, then you're like, okay, So if we're going to be in each other's lives, then you can't do this to me anymore. And if you can't respect that, then I guess we don't need to be in each other's lives. And that's something that I've stuck to and I've learned and developed a lot more of. And I just think it's important as you change and become better to just reflect and know how to be, more creative, or how to like dive into yourself and just have enough time to process, why are you doing this certain thing? Is it beneficial? If it's not beneficial, why do you keep doing it? And if you love something, this has long lines towards vices. If you have something that you like really enjoy and it's something that's hard for you to let go of, is the cost of that vice worth what it is doing to you in the long run? And that's something that I'm working on fixing, because I have things that I have been doing that aren't helpful. I mean, clearly I'm overweight, so we can talk about food. Food, I don't. Here's the thing: sugar is my problem. Food in general, I don't think is, but I do take in a lot of sugary foods, but I don't seek them out. It's just they're the easiest, the most convenient for me to get. And I think the thing and that's what I've learned, and that's why I don't think of myself as eating a lot of processed sugary food, is because I don't go out of my way to get them. It's just I go out of my way for convenience, and I'm like, no, you need to spend the time because you matter to yourself, and you want to be here for a long period of time. So for that to happen, you need to develop and give yourself the freedom to have that and be like, hey, I will give myself that freedom, but I need to make sure that I have limits to how much I'm intaking if I'm enjoying a sugary thing, or cutting it out entirely if that's possible, because sometimes it is really hard to do that, but it's all about allowing yourself those baby steps. Change doesn't happen with giant strides, it happens over time, slowly, and all you can do is tackle it bit by bit, and if you do that, it will have a major effect over time, especially when it comes to your own personal journey. Where I am now mentally did not happen. It happened slowly over time, and it happened because I learned to accept something about myself that other people would rather judge than accept that some people's brains just work differently. And it's okay to have a brain that needs to ask this question. Because I used to have a lot of judgment because I had a lot of self-harm ideation, and I judged myself so hard for that it made me want to do it even more. Whereas I started just listening to thoughts happening in my brain. I'm like, especially when a therapist told me that your thoughts aren't yours, they're like these things that you get trained to hear. So sometimes something will flow into your brain that doesn't even have any merit on the situation at hand. But when you have more sense of who you are, you have more of a sense of self to hear that thought and be like, oh, that's just a thought. That has nothing to do with how I actually feel or what I actually want. It's just something that needs to show up because it feels like it does. And I used to have a judgment because it would show up. But like, the more I learned to be like, oh, that's just a part of me, and that's okay. I can let that go. And be okay with the fact that he shows up every now and again, and not hurt myself in the long run for hating myself that I even think that. Because hating yourself at all is something that you should tackle with the therapist. Because if you have like a thought that you hate yourself, or like any of those kind of thoughts, because I never really hated myself. I fall into the category of not wanting to hurt other people, because a lot of the times the people that are hurting me the most are the people that I love, and I would never want to inflict harm on the people I love. And I realized over time that other people either don't give me enough of weight in their lives, or they don't love me as much as I love them, because if they did, they would not wish to inflict their hurtful words or their actions to give me these thoughts. And so I'm like, you know what, they're not capable of like respecting a boundary. And so because of that, I need to limit my exposure to them or cut them out entirely, because clearly if I was enough of a priority, they would make it so they respected my boundary enough to change. And I think change is the thought that I want to leave you guys on today, is not only are we going to have a lot of changes with Grand Central in the future as well as Show Up with Cameron Gran, but those changes are not bad. They're good because they mean that I have become better as an individual, that I can give you more of myself. And I think that's a big win. And I hope anybody watching knows that it's a big win, because those wins need to be celebrated even when they're small, because because if you give yourself invisible effort, it's going to feel like you're doing nothing. And that's something that I learned was that my biggest pitfall is I would do these things to change, but I would not give myself the same amount of time to just be like, oh, I did this. I rock for doing that. That's a good thing. Like, it's an affirmation. It's like, give yourself those affirmations. Give yourself the rewards. Like, don't eat out or eat terribly every day, but like, oh, I really enjoy doing this and I've been really good. Let me make the choice that tomorrow I'm going to have, like, go out to a buffet. Buffets are tons of calories. So if I'm like, oh, well, if I lose a certain amount of weight, I'll go to a buffet. That's the reward I'm planning on giving myself. But like, again, I know that will put me back a little bit, but it's kind of like, oh, it put me back a little bit, but I still am really excited for myself. And I like, because I'm going to tell you this. For instance, I've been eating a lot less and I've gone to a buffet, and I know already, because of the changes that I've made, that even if I choose to go to a buffet, the amount of food I'm eating is not the same amount of food that I would have started out as eating, because I feel a lot fuller sooner. So those changes are having a positive effect on my body and sense of self, especially because my body feels full and I'm stopping, rather than being like, I paid a certain amount, so I want to make sure that I'm absorbing as much as that amount qualifies. But I'm like, no, if you're full and you feel full, it's okay to stop, even if you paid for all you can eat. Because if you enjoy what you ate, and it's like, for instance, sushi, they have all you can eat sushi restaurants. And then you can also go and buy sushi regularly. And sometimes I'm like, oh, well, me going to all you can eat gave me more sushi than I would have been able to afford by the roll. But still, I didn't need to overeat to just enjoy it like a little bit more than I would normally. It's kind of like when you process those things that you do them, it helps you make bigger change, because your stomach, in case your stomach is going smaller, or like your actions, your habits are changing, so you can make better and smarter choices. And so I'm going to leave season 3 saying, don't be afraid of change. It's okay to accept something new. And it's okay to go into the unknown with a positive outlook and accepting the ways that things go backwards as they come. And you don't need to like fall apart every time they do. It's how you focus up, figure out how to get back onto what you were striving for, and just enjoying the process, because life is short, and a part of happiness is choosing to be happy, but sometimes choosing just means opening yourself up for the opportunities of happiness that are happening in everyday life. So with that, I'm going to say thank you guys so much for watching. Please, if you haven't, subscribe to this channel, or go over to subscribe to Show Up with Cameron Gran, because that's where I'm going to be switching over this podcast to, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. Hit the bell button if you want to be alerted when I post more videos. And if you listen to this on a podcast, feel free to leave a review, because that helps push this to more people. And I want to say thank you. Have a good night. And don't forget, as you go throughout the week, to show up for yourself, because you matter.